Hi, I'm Matt. I'm a maths PhD student.
I'm Luciana. I'm a PhD student in chemical engineering at Imperial College.
My name is Michael Ernstein, and I'm also a PhD student at Imperial College London.
My name is COBrew. I'm a PhD student at Imperial College London, and we are doing this project called COBrew.
We are a group of PhD students, all who are on the same PhD programme at the Graduate Institute.
Beer consumption in the UK accounts for a surprising amount of the UK's greenhouse gas emissions, about 1.5% of the total national emissions.
And also with more and more people doing home brewing, it's interesting to see whether there are anything more people can do to reduce their emissions and their impact through taking that production process into their own homes. We are brewing carbon neutral beer, and we're going to be at the Imperial Festival where people can go and try it and taste it.
Yeah, so a couple things go into beer, of course. There's hops and malt, like the two main ones. And so we did our best here during this project to source whatever we can, all the ingredients as close to home, basically as close to London as possible. So for one, we got our hops from a farm in Sevenoaks. So we biked out, like our mutual mode of transportation, bought the hops, biked all the way back. So that's number one. Then sourcing the other ingredients we got from a local brew store. And so really we're trying to do here is all the modes of transport, everything involved here, as to further reduce the impact, we're trying to do this by walking and by biking. So also the beer that you will find at the Imperial Festival will also be transported there from the bottling location to Imperial College by biking.
So today we're making some beer. The main ingredients are the malt, which is for the yeast to feed on. It's the sugar content made from barley, which has been mashed up. We've got various different types. They give different flavours and have different sugar contents. We also have some Irish moss, which is a clearing agent, so we don't have a cloudy beer. And then over here we've got the yeast, which is going to give us the carbon dioxide and the alcohol. And finally we have the hops, which also, as well as the malt, gives some extra flavour.
So about an hour before the brewing process actually starts, we're going to give the yeast a little hot water and a little of the dried malt extract, which is essentially sugar, so it can start activating, getting ready to feed on the sugar and produce alcohol. And basically throughout the whole brewing process, the yeast is just going to be eating away at the sugar and getting ready for the actual fermenting.
The next step of the process is to, for about 20 minutes, put the malts in some warm water and let their flavour develop by themselves in some water which has been heated to 175 Fahrenheit.
So this is the stock pot in which the boiling actually happens. So once the grains have been steeped and we've removed the infusion, comes the most energy intensive part of the process, which is mixing the infusion with water and malt to provide the sugar and boiling everything for about 60 minutes. We've opted for using electricity rather than gas because our electricity is provided by a renewable energy provider, and as such we're using a hot plate to do the actual boiling.
So once the hour is up, we need to stop those chemical processes completely. So what we do is we fill up the sink with cold water and dunk the brewing pot straight into it.
So we dunk it into some cold water, checking the temperature, making sure that it is down to the temperature that we need it at. And from there we put it into the fermenting bucket and add the final ingredients, which are the sugar and the yeast for the fermentation.
Yep. And before putting it away for fermentation, so after adding the yeast and the sugar, we also need to take a specific gravity reading. So what this does is it basically measures how much water versus how much alcohol you have in a mixture based on the density difference between the two. And what brewers do is they measure the specific gravity before fermentation and after fermentation. And the difference between the two values will give you the alcohol content of your beer.
So, today we're going to be bottling the beer, and to do that we have some reused and recycled bottles, and in order to use those for the bottling of the beer we have to wash and sterilize them first. And the way we're going to do this is we're going to wash them out with hot water, and after that, just to make sure we really get all of the dirt out of there, we also need to use a little bit of gin. So it has been 2 weeks in fermentation with our wonderful bucket here. So the bottles are also dry now, so we can move towards siphoning off the beer and then finally bottling it. For this, we are going to use some tubing and what is called an autosiphon. And the reason for that is that it allows us to pump the beer from the fermentation bucket into a secondary bucket before bottling, which allows us to avoid getting all the hops and the gunk and the malt and whatever else is in there right now into the bottles.
So, we're using this, which is called an hygrometer, to tell us the specific gravity of our beer, and that tells us the alcohol content of it. As you can see, bottles are dry and ready for the pouring, and now we're gonna fill them up and have our bottled beer.
So at this point, after we cap it, we leave it for another 2 weeks in the bottles in the step that's called bottle conditioning that introduces the fizziness and should get us soon to our final product. So of course, during the brewing process, we can reduce the carbon impact from stuff like transportation, we can recycle the bottles, but at the end of the day, there is going to be some embedded carbon cost that we can't get rid of. In order to offset that last bit of carbon, we partner with an organization in Camden that plants trees around London, and we went to plant some trees on a nice Wednesday afternoon with some really nice and helpful volunteers. I think there's a lot of steps and a lot of things that people can do. Like if they're interested in homebrewing and if they want to make their own beer, like you don't have to go all out like we did baking to get the hops. I think it's worth a lot to just try and source your ingredients locally for beer, but also for other things such as food, and that already goes a really long way to reducing your carbon impact.